A resident of New Jersey who works in New York City applies to become a notary public in New York State. What requirement must they fulfill to be eligible? Now, the answer to this question can be found at the Executive Law Section 130. Specifically, this law states that every person appointed as notary public must, at the time of his or her appointment, be a resident of the state of New York or have an office or place of business in New York State. Now, with that in mind, let's look at our four choices to determine the best solution. Choice A states they must establish residency in New York State. Now, we have to be careful with this because it does seem like this may be the correct solution. But let's look at the next choice and contrast it to learn why choice A is not the right solution. Choice B states they must have an office or place of business in New York State. As we just read, if a notary public has an office or place of business in New York State, they are eligible to become a notary public in New York State. While choice A can be correct in that a notary public can establish residency in New York State to become a notary public, because the question states a resident of New Jersey, between choice A and choice B makes more sense because we are dealing with a notary public who's a resident of New Jersey working in New York City. So we can strike out A as the correct solution, but before we choose B, let's look at the other two choices just to be sure. Choice C states they must pass a special exam for non-residents. This was not listed as a requirement in the law that we read, and therefore we can strike out C as a solution. Choice D states they are not eligible as non-residents. This is clearly not true from the law that we just read, and therefore we can cross out D as the solution, which leaves B as the correct solution. They must have an office or place of business in New York State.